Sanibonani, welcome to Let's Talk with Tyhilana. My name is Amahle and what's your name?
Sinethemba.
Introduce yourself to the camera.
Hi, my name is Sinethemba. I don't like saying my surname, so like you guys will have to take that.
Okay, and what are your pronouns?
He, him, yeah.
And yours?
He, she.
Okay. Alright. So Sanibonani, welcome back to another episode of Tyhilana Let's Talk. With my two new friends. We'll say it's a new friendship because we just started bonding today. So today we're talking desirability politics within the queer space in South Africa because that's where we're at. And I think to begin the conversation I'd have to define what desirability politics is according to Dashawn Harrison. So Dashawn has an article which I'll post in the description link below. Essentially what they define desirability politics as the methodology through which the sovereignty of those deemed conventionally attractive, beautiful, arousing is determined. Put another way, the politics of desire labels that which determine who gains and holds both social and structural power through the affairs of sensuality, often predicated on anti-blackness, anti-fitness, and trans-misogyny, cis-sexism, queer antagonism, and all other structural violence. So we'll start the conversation by asking Amahle and Sinethemba, what do they think is deemed desirable in the queer community?
So I'll speak like from my personal experiences and how I grew up. So I'll make an example, not an example, but I mean I'll just explain for me personally. So I grew up as the fat, short, not gay, feminine, because I was in the closet for the longest of time. So I was quite the short, fat, feminine guy. And just by being short and fat, you are not desirable, basically.
Yeah.
Because we all know the most desirable person in the room is going to be the light-skinned, tall, toned, masculine type of person. So now, growing up, I was never ever quite the desirable person, and that has affected me, my dating life, that has affected me with my self-esteem, and I had to grow from that. I had to learn, I had to teach myself actually from a very young age that I must be comfortable in my own skin. I should not let everything else determine who I am and what I will stand for and what I will be. So desirability politics is something that really been quite touching for me, because I mean I know that from a personal level, and I think I've been repeating personally all the time.
Yeah.
But anyways, the way, do you guys understand them as well?
Yeah. So for me, like I was never in the closet. Like literally, I was raised by my grandmother, so she used to make me wear dresses at Christian. So I was just always feminine. I was always that type of kid, and unless I was around other kids who were maybe straight or whatever, and I could see that I was not desirable because of my weight or my feminism.
Yeah.
So like even when I grew up and I was in queer spaces, I could see that they were not really accepting because I was not masculine enough, which I tried to be, but they didn't desire me, man.
Yeah.
I was never desired for being feminine. The only people who desired me, relationship-wise, were either older men or men who are in the closet.
Okay. With me, so okay, before I go to what I think is deemed desirable in the queer community, can we all agree that femininity, fatness, and let's say skin tone, if you're darker tone, then you are not deemed desirable within the queer space, in queer community in South Africa?
Yeah, I mean be dark but be tall and masculine if you're dark.
Yeah. So once those three worlds intersect, you're not necessarily the darkest one. You're the darkest person in the room. You're the fattest person in the room, and and you are feminine. So those three things make you undesirable. But this is not a blanket approach, but I'm just saying, just from our experiences.
Yeah.
that's
Especially
what it
in
is.
queer spaces.
Yeah. Because with me, it's like a thing of I've always like desirability is something that comes and goes when it comes to me. There's times when I'm deemed desirable, and then there's times when I'm not deemed desirable. Like for example, I'll say my most desirable years was after high school when I had lost all the weight. Because so in high school in primary school I gained weight because of puberty, and I was fairly darker in skin tone, and then I progressed to come to university and in high school I did modeling and I lost all the weight, and then in university that's when I actually came out for the first time. And then at the time I was a size 30 leaning towards 28, and those were my most desirable years. As much as I was not the darkest person in the room, I was still very much like just slightly darker than I am now. But then it was a situation where I navigated the world much easier than I did last year when I gained all my weight from stress eating and all of that. It was like a situation where people were like, you were so much prettier when you were skinnier. Do you know what I mean? And so that's why for me this conversation is kind of like a tricky one, because I'm just like, yes, I may not be fat. Do you know what I mean? I have an average body type according to Grindr. And
no, girl.
like I
That
have
orange app.
Yeah, so I'm the average body type now, and it's like my desirability depends on who I'm having a conversation with and who I'm interacting with and the man that is in my space at the time. So it's kind of like my desirability is something, or just what it means to be pretty in the gay community for me is something that fluctuates. It depends on my weight.
It's quite seasonal.
Yeah, it's seasonal. Sometimes I'm desirable, sometimes I'm not.
Yeah.
And since starting the YouTube channel, it's been a thing of I've been losing weight, gaining weight, losing weight, gaining weight, losing weight, gaining weight, and I have already a fucked up relationship with how I look based on how I weigh. Do you get what I'm saying? But now it's like a thing of I don't even know where I stand when it comes to desirability politics, because I'm no longer as skinny as I used to be, but I also really very much enjoy the weight that I have now. But
I feel like you look good.
But I don't look sick. Like I look sick. I eat cheekbones.
When?
In 2018.
But you look good now. So were you desirable at that time?
Yeah, I was,
because you were thinner.
Yeah, I was very much skinnier. I was like, because with me it's like a thing of I've always had a very fucked up. I had an eating disorder in grade 12. Like I didn't eat. I only had lemon juice water and cucumber water, and I always just lost the weight because I wasn't eating properly. So now it's like a thing of last year I gained a lot of weight because I was not eating proper food. This year I went vegetarian for a while, became a mindful eater. Chigi, I'm losing all the weight, and I can see the desirability also picking up. Do you know what I mean? And I'm posting more on social media. I was always just someone who's camera shy. That's why this year has been a very rude awakening for me, in the sense of now I'm more comfortable sitting in front of a camera and talking, and more comfortable taking pictures when I'm out. But desirability has been something that's just been funny, man. Like for me it's been always funny. Do you know what I mean? But like that's why I'm like, it's important that I had the conversation with the two of you, because when I was doing the research, the video that I sent you and you fell asleep and you didn't so that lady was essentially saying, Bana, she was saying, Bana, people like me and her can't essentially speak about desirability politics, because in as much as it affects us seasonally versus affecting us long term. Do you know what I mean? Because you guys are saying you've always been fat, and with me I don't know, because I've been skinny, I've been fat, I've been skinny, I've been fat. Now I'm average weight. It's kind of like my desirability, like it fluctuates.
Yeah, click.
Like on and off. So I think that's why for me it was like very important also that we have this conversation versus the other video we're going to do.
Yeah.
But thank you for saying we should have this conversation, Amahle. But so the third question is, how would you say your weight has influenced your dating?
Well, when it comes to weight, it's like because men look at me sometimes and they're like, that's a big ass, blah 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 blah. Because that's ass in the Nikki. The one thing. But and then they get to like see me, or maybe see my height or whatever, and something just puts them off. I don't know what, but like I said, the only men that have desired me have been DL men or those kind of CIS men, because they think I'm like closest to a woman for them. Because of how I'm built, you know. So like it's annoying and it's triggering that people that are my age, because I'm 20, people that are my age, like who are in maybe university, don't see me as desirable because they would rather date a thinner person. Which always leads me to dating older people, because they are the ones who find me desirable, but they are the ones who also hide me.
And how do you feel about the hiding situation?
I mean, I'm with that. I've dated guys who were not entirely out of the closet, but when we go out, they whine me, they dine me, because one thing about me, that knows what I deserve. Me, that knows what I deserve. So they will whine me, they will dine me, but they would never, like, they would even like tell the waiter that can you get another glass of champagne for the lady? And I would not be mad at that. But like they would rather keep things serious, hence I never post men that I'm really dating or whatever. But it differs, man. You feel hidden sometimes, but sometimes you feel like it's not his time to come out of the closet sometimes. And you are fine with it. So it's different.
So now, as I was saying, I've always been fat, and my dating life has been non-existent. Non-existent, but I mean, it hasn't been anything serious, anything of substance, because I mean, you would be ashamed to be with me, to go out with me. So it's more fetish. It's a fetish. DL men that you'll find on Grindr, men that will DM. It's a fetish, and you have to hide it. You can't even tell your friends. And also, they've got this thing of, no man, rub you, I've never been on a date, didn't I? I'm telling you.
You've never been on a date?
I've never been on a date.
It's taken me so long now. I've only been on a date, and I've only been desirable now because I'm socially there now. And people know me, and when I get to a place, I'm shutting it through, getting it down, blah blah blah. So that's what men want. So like they see me like in the spotlight, and they're like, everyone is giving him attention, blah 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 blah, and that's how they desire me. That's how they start desiring me.
And do you think it has to do with the fact that when you show up, you also show up financially for yourself?
Well, I think so too. I think so too, because I really love doing that for myself. Like I really like taking care of myself, and I really love like financial stability, man. And if and then they could see that, and they are somehow
enticed by it.
They're enticed by it, and not all of them are with it, but some of them are like opportunists, which we've spoken about.
And what's the other question?
Friendships.
So how do you think desirability politics influence the way we pick our friends? Do you think I'm going to choose friends who are essentially going to make sure who are more desirable in the community so that I can attract more men? Or do you think it's just friendship happens organically, or do you think this whole thing of desirability politics is something that happens subconsciously versus it being a conscious decision? I feel like that was a worded question, but you get the gist.
And most of the time it actually happens subconsciously, because you would actually notice out of all your friends, no man, but subconsciously. But then there are friends who would actually take the conscious decision to actually make friends with this type of person, because this type of person.
What type of person?
So let's say people with social status, people that are pretty. But what I mean by pretty, light-skinned, tall, toned, So it kind of happens that people will have those type of friendships, and then you also get people that will also have friends because of their social status.
Okay. Yeah. So you think desirability politics also plays a part in it?
It also plays a part. Also, if you don't make up for the shortfalls, if you're not quite the desirable person, no, there are people there are people that I know, but people actually don't like me. But it's the fact that I'm finding something but once I am in a certain setting, in a certain place where there's other people, so I have come to understand, and once I do identify that in that type of person, I will just move away.
Yeah.
Because I will not be
Yes, I felt like that in high school with my friends, because I was friends with a lot of girls in high school. So I felt like that. I felt like the only reason they were really friends with me was because maybe I was funny, and I just knew to like handle the room, and that's sort of so like I just knew how to do that, and people liked that about me, but they never saw me, because even my closest friends, my closest friends didn't know that I didn't have a mother. After matric, my mother died in grade 8. She was my friend since then, so she was not listening to me.
She was just there for the idea of you, but not you.
Yes. And again, like financially, I've always been that person who is like financially giving. It's going, I would like say, no, don't buy it. I'll buy it for you. Don't.
Let's say Twitter to me. Now, from my experience, it's been a situation where people have become friends with me because of the type of men that I've been able to attract over the years, and as a result of that, it's been like, I think it took me this year. This is the first year where I have people around me who I'm just like, I genuinely enjoy all the energies they are around me, and I'm very protective of the energies who are around me. It's like even the men that I attract right now, it's such a slippery slope, because I used to have friends who are just like, we all were just desirable in that space, do you know what I mean? But then it became a thing of, there's the Landiolo, Manyokabana, Gwatini, because Galogo, we're all fighting or competing for the same thing. But then now it's like a thing of, because femininity is not desirable, and I've seen it in the way that men who have internalized homophobia interact with feminine people, I don't want those kind of energies in my space. And as a result of that, I can't accommodate Indota, who essentially is femphobic, who is fatphobic. Like, my spaces don't allow for those kind of environments, do you know what I mean? Because I'm like, I very much understand what it means to be desirable, and I also understand when you are not desirable. Because like people, like I said, people would walk in and out of my life because when I'm associated with this is the type of caliber of men that I'm going to attract. And unfortunately, it's always been your stereotypical skinny, pretty
light skin,
like
girls,
do you know what I mean?
And I don't want this to seem like we have maybe a problem with skinny, beautiful gays. It's like it needs to be spoken about.
It's a conversation that needs to be had.
It needs to happen. It just needs to happen.
Well, my thing is, I've experienced both sides of the world. Do you know what I mean? Like last year, I found myself not liking myself because of how I was perceived by other people. This year, I'm like, I really enjoy the way I look. So how do I navigate a space where this other guy is gonna say, like for example, like I've hooked up with desirable young boys. Do you know what I mean? And it's always like a thing of, my thighs have always been a big thing, but you are asking like, but you're so skinny, but then lamatanga or 19 real. Do you know what I mean? Like they're fat shaming me essentially for my thighs, because my thighs are big. Because now my thing is, it's like a thing of, I'm desirable there. Until now, I'm confronted by another skinny geisha, and it's like a thing of, this skinny geisha to me is like, you are as a makumatanga, man. So that's what I'm saying. I've experienced both sides of the world, and it's a tricky world to navigate and it's a tricky conversation to have. But I think that's all that needs to be said about it. And then if anyone wants to continue the conversation, they'll continue it in the comment section below, ne?
Yeah.
And then Twitter, Instagram, Tyhilana.
Amahle _
Sinethemba _MAT.
So yeah, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Bye. Is it true?
Bye. Bye.